Brodes Media.
One of the most pathetic losses of my life. I don't know what's worse. Kirk Cousins destroying you, or the fact that I'm such a football guy that I got this crazy pizza stain on my shirt and I decided, hey, football guy, why not do the football pod with the stains all over the shirt? The loss is way worse, by the way. The loss is way worse. Tried to make a joke, probably a stupid joke. We're all angry right now. Now is not the time. I need to read the room. All right, look, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. We break down Philly sports every day here. If you want to take me on the road with you, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, search Sports Talk with Brodes or Brodes Media. And if you leave a 5-star rating and a review, it will mean the absolute world. And lastly, we have Coffee with Brodes live streams twice a week right here on YouTube. To get access to it, though, you have to join the memberships here. All the information is down below in the description. You also get access to our Discord channel as well. You do not want to miss out. So once again, make sure you check out all of the information and the links in the description. I'll shut up now. Enjoy, I guess. It's hard to enjoy that nonsense, but enjoy the show. How is that possible? How is that fucking possible? How the fuck did that just happen? That's a disgrace. An absolute disgrace. And the number one person to blame is Saquon Barkley. I'm not telling you I love the pass. I probably would have played it safer myself and allowed the clock to run, burn off time, so Kirk Cousins loses what? 40 more seconds? And who knows? The way this thing played out, the Falcons still could have potentially went all the way down the field and picked you apart. I'm not necessarily sure, but I'd be willing to take the chances with a bunch of time milked off the clock. With that said, though, the play design worked. Jalen put it right where it needed to be. And your superstar back, who got paid a ton of money, was not focused enough to actually complete the catch. That's an issue. That's where things went wrong. Saquon Barkley. I can't believe it! I have so much written down here. The good, the bad, the ugly. I had a perfect way that I wanted to do this show. Jalen and his legs. He looked like a runner again. A powerful runner with some actual jump in his step. Knowing how wacky Sunday was, with the Raiders beating Baltimore in Baltimore, you had the New Orleans Saints going on the road, spanking the Cowboys and bending them over. Tampa Bay in Detroit, the Vikings over the San Francisco 49ers. So to escape with a win, if they were to win 18-15, 21-15, whatever the finish would have been, it wouldn't have been the sexiest look in the world, and it definitely didn't play out in a beautiful, crisp way. But knowing it could be bonkers, I would have taken it. And instead, we're experiencing something very similar to what happened out in Seattle last season. And guess what? That's when things were rough. And Nick Sirianni is now going to have to take his team into New Orleans to have a response, because it can get ugly quickly. This isn't just an A.J. Brown returns and everything saved thing, because take a look at this pass rush. They stink. Bryce Huff stinks. Nolan Smith stinks. Do you know who your most effective guy on the line was today? Eye test. Thomas Booker. Do you know who the hell Thomas Booker is? My God. I remember watching him in preseason going, hey, that was a nice play. He should not be making the biggest impact out there. And whenever Brandon Graham did get to the quarterback, oh, of course, there was a holding on someone in the secondary. They can't get to Kirk Cousins. And guess what? Kirk Cousins will make enough plays. And this is Kirk Cousins, who could barely move. It doesn't help when Bijan Robinson can run through everybody. They can't tackle. They can't stop the run. There's real legitimate issues on the defensive side of the ball, and specifically in the trenches. They're a mess. They don't have enough talent to legitimately compete. That's a big takeaway for me. So, Howie, I don't know what you got to do to get Joe Douglas to tell his little friend, Hassan Reddick, that he'll, have an opportunity to play elsewhere back in Philadelphia. I don't know what it's going to take, but go get somebody now, because you can't sit on your hands. They don't create any sort of chaos. Can't win like this. Can't win like this. Milton Williams had a nice sack. That he did. Bryce Huff gets paid a ton of money. It's unbelievable. So the real question becomes, who's to blame from the coaching staff angle? Because I can't be hypocritical. Let me explain something to you. I was informed that Nick Sirianni lost a lot of his power. That doesn't mean he has no say or no voice, but I don't think he runs the offense, and I don't think he runs the defense. If this team was to excel and be dominant, I would give all the credit in the world to Kellen Moore. If the defense were studs, and truth be told, as much as they get gashed in between the 20s, once they get into the red zone, for the most part, the defense clamps down and forces the Falcons to kick field goals. And they force the Green Bay Packers to kick field goals. So I get it. The bend don't break sucks, and it is not fun. But if you don't break, there is a method to the madness to some degree. And based off the personnel, I think they actually do a reasonable job, even though they get carved up to pieces. But they need to get pressure. No pressure equals no winning. That's how this league works. Did you see what was happening to Justin Fields? Or no. Sorry, Caleb Williams. Wrong Bears quarterback. Caleb Williams, Sunday Night Football. Did you see what Will Anderson was doing? Did you see what the Houston Texans were doing? It was just insanity. Every snap, nonstop, a swarm of guys. And I get it. Yes, you could technically maybe try to enhance the pressure by throwing more bodies out there and maybe trying to blitz and this and that. But I don't think you have the personnel to do any of that. I don't think there's a pure vision defensively. Hell, the guy that Howie Roseman brought in to be one of these linebackers is healthy and can't even dress. I told you something wasn't adding up with his non-travel to Brazil, and then he was asked a question by ESP in front of his locker the other day about his role, and he said, go ask Nick Sirianni, maybe he'll tell you what it is, as if he has no clue. And whether the organization is right or wrong to keep him off the field, it doesn't add up. And it doesn't tell a good story about the vibes. And oh, by the way, then you lose a game like this in front of your home crowd. I thought it was a no-brainer with the intensity of it being the first home game, with Nick Foles returning and Jason Kelce all over the ESPN Monday night broadcast, that this was a W based off of energy. But it always does scare me when I head into a game and my first thought isn't X's and O's. Even though on paper you could have dialed up a million different ways on how the Eagles were better than the Falcons, the number one reason why I felt good was the surrounding pieces more so than anything else, and that's always a bad thing. We got conflicting reports, by the way, speaking about on paper, A.J. Brown, he wasn't available for you in theory. When he is healthy, this team on paper is a juggernaut offensively. Well, we got conflicting reports. We got Lisa Salter saying that it's going to be a couple of weeks. that was actually on the broadcast. And then we have Mike Garafolo earlier in the day mentioning that this is going to be a quick stint. We'll see. Got to watch out for that competitive advantage, of course. So shame on me for even bringing it up, just in case somebody from the Saints is watching the stream. That's how freakish Howie Roseman is about it. What else sucked? The RPOs, the penalties with guys that are downfield. Yeah, you know what? It is difficult to know if you're a lineman what's happening behind you. You don't have a set of eyes in the back of your head. So is it a pass? Is it a run? I got to get my blocks out in case it is a run. Here's reality, though. You have to figure it out or else scrap the damn play. If you're going to use it, figure it out. Because all these flags, it's useless. And Nick was asked about it post-game. Some of that is on coaching. Some of that is just on the players not doing their job. Well, whatever the reason is, if it doesn't get cleaned up, the play doesn't matter. If you can't be effective with it, it's garbage. Clean it up. So, dating back to the energy that I just referenced, what makes this even worse than Drew Lock and the Bradbury situation and the Sean Desai / Matt Patricia nonsense, you flew out to the West Coast for that one, right? This one's in your own stadium after C.J. Gardner-Johnson gets that massive pop, that massive hit. His helmet comes off, whether he took it off or not and escaped one, I don't know. I thought Avonte Maddox escaped one right before big play Slay allows an easy touchdown there. But the place was losing its mind. And I was going to give so much credit to CJ because of the piss-poor tackling that allowed a touchdown earlier on a big explosive play. In crunch time, he delivered. It's all irrelevant. All of it's irrelevant now. Anything on my good section of my notes here, what, Quinyon Mitchell? I mean, he has good break on balls when he's reading the quarterback's eyes, and he seems to be able to plant his foot and pounce. He almost had that interception early. He also got posted late. And I'm a huge fan of Quinyon Mitchell, but when the team loses like this, come on. What, the tush push worked a few times? Like, what am I doing? What am I doing? The 9-minute drive to take the lead in the 2-point conversion? Let's talk about the decision to not kick a field goal early. 4th and 3, they go for it, they come up empty, no points on the board. Here's my take. I like the decision. If I had a coaching staff with this team and this talent, that when they are plugged into the red zone and it's 4th down and they didn't go for it, I'd say we have losers. Losers. And it almost kind of relates back to this 4th down where they threw it to, or excuse me, the stopping of the clock to throw it to Saquon Barkley. It's taking a risk, and you're trusting your big-time players, your big money contract men, and Jalen put it on the money. Saquon just failed Kellen Moore and the offense. I want that attitude. I want that edge. You have to keep pace with us. Well, you got to put points on the board. It's not 18-22. It's 4th and short. You're in the red zone. Let's go. My bigger problem with that situation was leading up to the 4th down more than it was going for it on 4th down. If you know it's 4th down territory, 3rd and 4 should have been a run. Or whether it was 3rd and 3, I forget the distance, but regardless, it was either 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 3. If it's 4 down territory, run the ball. because Saquon probably would have picked it up. He was on a ridiculous stretch at that point, running for 9, running for 9, running for 10, running for 11. And then Gainwell came in the game, and that got everybody angry. But from my understanding, and maybe we'll get some information soon here, but from my understanding, Saquon Barkley looked to make a gesture to the bench like, I need a break here. He did just have a bunch of runs in a row, and he was picking up a bunch of yards. He probably did need a breather. I don't know if that was the Eagles saying, we need Kenny Gainwell right now, or if it was more of Saquon needs a second to get some water, get some fluid, so the next time he touches the ball, he's a little bit fresher. He just did a massive amount of work. So if I'm under that impression, then I'm not going to really ridicule anybody for Gainwell being in the game there. But it was more about Jalen Hurts rolling to his left and trying to force a throw to Johnny Wilson in the back of the end zone when he probably could have used his legs to pick up some more yards. It was everything prior to the decision on fourth that irritated me more. I'm okay with going for it on fourth. Dude, Doug Peterson would go for it. Everyone loved Big Nuts Doug. It wasn't irrational. It's a fair go for it type of spot. Just because they maybe don't execute doesn't mean it was a bad thought process. It's 2024. I'm totally cool with this idea of let our offense cook and let's go. Especially because, as you see, what's the stronger part of this team? It's not the defense. It's not the pass rush. Even with the ugliness, the identity of this team is you are going to win because of your offense. Well, if that's the case, here's something else that really irritated me. Why Britton Covey every second? If I'm Dallas Goedert, I am so angry. Like, to the point where I barge into the coach's office this week and I say, what the hell do I have to do? Alcantara is getting more targets than him throughout a majority of the game. Britton Covey was the number one option, it looked like. I swear to God, they just plugged him in to A.J. Brown, and then he was the featured man of the offense. Like, what are we doing? Britton Covey? It's a joke. Dallas Goedert should be way more of a part of this team. They don't ever use him. I'd be so irritated. His skill set is being wasted. It's on the offensive minds to realize what type of star he is and how he can break games wide open. He is a game wrecker type of tight end. You wouldn't know it, though. And I want it more than just one random game. Like, I'll probably complain all day today about it. And then next week, he's got 100 yards. And then he'll go back to 9 yards, 20 yards, 15 yards, 2 targets. Come on. It's embarrassing to have someone as talented as he is, and Covey and Alcantara becomes more of a threat in the offense. That's inexcusable. You're wasting a great, great weapon. And I can't let that slide. So, what are you going to do? Cool, Jalen can run better than I thought. And that's a big piece of information. Doesn't matter anymore. Will Nick Sirianni, this is my question as we get ready to go to the Anytime Hotline. And I'll also throw this in there too. I just did a Bleacher Report stream right before I recorded this pod, and I was pleasantly surprised with the amount of people who voted on the poll in favor of the blame going to Kellen Moore, or no, excuse me, more on Saquon Barkley for failing to catch it. That was the number one blame over the decision-making and Kellen Moore and the coaching staff. It was about 83% of the viewers at the time were leaning way more towards the running back being the one that should take a lot of the heat. And I'm proud because I do think the easy point-the-finger blame is right towards coaching. The play was right there. The play was right there. Sometimes you have to zig when others think you're zagging. Yeah, that sounded all right. Zig when they think you're going to zag. Throw it when they think you're going to run. Get the first down, bada bing, bada boom, you're golden, you get the dub. Everything was right there. Except maybe Saquon turned his head upfield a little too quickly. Maybe he wasn't focused on actually securing the football and bringing it close to his chest. That's on him. It's a guy who's catching a ball that he did in week 1 in Brazil with a ridiculous wide receiver level of catch. I don't think it's foolish, though, if you do feel it's silly to take that risk. I don't think you're absolutely nuts to want to play it safe there either, because while there are times to step on the gas, there are times where it's reasonable just to play the simplified version of the game, just to play it smart. It might not be the sexiest thing in the world, but it's going to get the dub, and 4 weeks from now, nobody remembers that you ran the ball and let the clock sort of run and tick, and then you dared Kirk Cousins without any timeouts to go the length of the field. They'll just see that the Eagles are 2-0 to start the season. And this is what I wanted to get to in regards to Nick Sirianni. Being 1-1 is so much different than being 2-0. And Nick Sirianni has a lot to answer right now, just from a morale level, from keeping everybody in the right mindset right now. This is a tough one. It's a brutal, disgusting, pathetic, embarrassing, garbage one. Based off of last season, you're already walking on thin ice. And for everyone who was in that locker room then and is here now again, and even for some of the new faces, guys like Bryce Huff, yeah, maybe he didn't experience that last year, but there's a lot of fans that despise you right now because the metrics even say it. You do nothing. Like, you actually do nothing. Nothing at all. Zero. Nothing. He does nothing. It's not as if he's doing okay, right? Underperforming because the expectations were high. He's okay, but he's not holding his end of the bargain. He's doing nothing. So that's added pressure. That's frustration. I'm sure Dallas Goedert isn't very thrilled. He was here last year. I was using Bryce Huff as an example of someone who wasn't here last year that is now having to deal with this level of criticism and how you have to manage these emotions if you're the coach and make sure you don't lose anybody. So this is a big swing game on a short week going into a hostile environment that always gives me very uncomfortable vibes. And oh, by the way, last year's in the back of everybody's minds. It's crazy. It really is. All right, let's take some anytime hotline calls, shall we? Let's do it.
I have no idea how we just lost that game, Brodes. I mean, the Steelers beat this team last week off of just kicking field goals, and we couldn't even beat them in our home opener with Jason Kelsey and Nick Foles in attendance. I mean, this loss was ugly. Yeah, not much to say about this one. We should not be losing to the Falcons any day of the week. So this one is painful. I mean, just not really sure. I was hoping we would be able to take a lead and hold it at some point, maybe run away with the lead, but we just let them stay in it, and then, they ended up winning in the end. So
even if they didn't run away with it, right? Quote unquote, dominate them, beat them by 30, throw haymakers and knock them out with a bloody nose. That 9+ minute drive was once again very similar to what we saw in Green Bay and very similar to what we saw in 2022. Plus you factor in Jalen's ability to run the football. There's something to these long sustained drives in the second half of games to put away teams, to get a big touchdown, to get a 2-point conversion, to add a bit of separation, and that is momentum that swings in your direction. Not getting the 2-point conversion and failing can give the Falcons some juice and some celebration on the sideline, some ass smacking, some high fives as Kirk Cousins runs back onto the field. So that added bonus of even squeezing 2 more points in there at the end of the day, I thought that's massive. So I get it. Trust me. I would have loved for them just to be that fantastic squad right from the rip and this be a no contest where I'm not sweating out any sort of bet. And of course, my skate takes fails today. I hit yesterday's parlay because I had myself the Los Angeles Chargers. I had the Kansas City Chiefs, and I had the Houston Texans in a 3-leg parlay. Bada bing, bada boom. Cash that out on Skate Takes. If you're unfamiliar with Skate Takes, of course, go follow me on Twitter at Brodes81. I take my rollerblades shirtless around the block and give you my bets of the day. So I bet Jalen Hurts to have over 200 yards passing, which 200 yards in today's game is nothing. You sneeze and you accidentally get 200 yards. I took Devontae Smith over 60 yards. I took the Eagles' money line in a 3-leg parlay. I couldn't get it. I wish I didn't have to worry whatsoever, and it could have been an easy, let me just wash my hands because the Eagles are in cruise control type of night. No. Wasn't even close. I do want to give them credit for that 9-minute drive because they did their thing. That's something that they do. That's an identity type of style right there. That's common. It's a trend. It's how they operate. It's something they can rely on. They can do it on a consistent basis. They can milk the clock in a crazy, absurd drive and steal your soul. So they were on pace to do it the way that they traditionally do it, dating back to the 2022 ways. And now we got this. Now, here's why the Steelers were able to win. TJ Watt. The Eagles cannot produce as a group what TJ Watt can do as one man, as a solo show. Me, myself, and I, TJ Watt says, is 50,000 times better than the collective unit that wore a Philadelphia Eagles jersey today. So that's why Pittsburgh can complete the W like that. And we can't. What's next?
Yo, get Nick Sirianni the fuck out of town. What the fuck are we doing, bro? What the fuck was that? You don't take the field goal. Don't fucking run the ball. Holy shit. Oh, what the fuck are we doing? That was fucking atrocious. Atrocious. And then last year, who the fuck was that backup quarterback that fucking carved us up on a fucking game-winning drive?
Drew Lock.
And as soon as fucking Saquon dropped that ball, I saw it coming. I said, yep, that's what's going to happen. I'm fucking screaming, you got to go for the touchdown. Got to go for the touchdown. Because if you go up 6, they're going to march down the field and score. And what do you know? Fucking Kirk Cousins turns into prime fucking Aaron Rodgers. And holy shit, get Sirianni the fuck out of here. And then that last fucking interception, I mean, I don't blame Hurts, but I saw it coming from a mile away. That's just what he does. Like, why you had Saquon in the flat. Let him get, you needed 10, 15 yards. Come on, man. Fuck.
I feel your pain. I'm not really that angry with Jalen with the interception at the end. You're somewhat so back against the wall heavy that you're desperate and you're trying things and whatever. That's not really where the game was lost. But the Sirianni thing is interesting, and it is such a raw feeling right now that I haven't had time to really sit on it, of course. And as this week plays out, even though it's a short week, I'll have some more time to allow it to settle in. But once again, when it comes to Sirianni, I don't think he does anything. I think he, in theory, he manages the emotions of the player. So that's what I'm going to look at moving forward here, is how does he manage the emotions of these guys after a really bad loss. But in regards to kicking a field goal, going for it, running the ball, passing the ball, it's Kellen Moore. From my understanding, Kellen Moore calls the shots, and that's what we wanted. And it seems like that's what we got. And now this is on Kellen Moore. But once again, I liked not kicking the field goal early. I liked going for it there. I thought it was smart to go for it there. I didn't like the third down call. I think if you're going for it on fourth, you run it on third, especially with how good Saquon Barkley was. I forget when he did tap himself out, though, for a breather with Gainwell, and I think he was on the field at that particular time, though. The Gainwell stuff happened prior. But regardless, I don't like their play call on third before fourth. I like the idea of the fourth and the fourth. Sorry, I'm using that phrase too much. Not kicking the field goal early, I liked. And the play to Saquon for the second part of this with Kellen Moore, It was available. It was wide open. The play call, it won the battle. It won the matchup. We talk about it all the time. It's a chess match. You're looking at the defensive coordinator right in the face. You won. Your player just failed to execute. So who deserves blame? How do we blame Nick? And I'll blame Nick with the best of them. I want to find a way to blame Nick. I prefer ripping Nick Sirianni today. Because when you are the head coach, of course, there is a reflection on you. He was apparently supposed to be working on his calmness on the sidelines, and then I saw him yapping and freaking out and red face and taking his headset off and barking at a player when they had to stop one of their plays early and call a timeout, and they were walking towards the sidelines. Maybe there's a correlation between him losing his cool and the players going, come on, Nick, I thought we weren't doing this crap this year. And then them all falling apart late in the game. I'm not sure. I want to blame Nick. I just don't know what Nick does. And that was my problem from the start, is I have no idea what Nick does. And I think this kind of shows you why it's a weird place to be. Because you lose a game like this and you go, well, who's that on? It's ridiculous.
Well, first, they deserved to lose this game. That was absolutely pathetic. Offense not taking advantage of opportunities they had tonight. Kellen Moore calling a much more vanilla offense, which I get AJ being out, but there's no excuse for that. But that fucking defense, man. I might be the only one who was not super thrilled about Vic being the DC coming in. Like I said, I have not been impressed with him through 2 weeks at all yet. You know, Huff may as well be on the back of a fucking milk carton right now with how missing he is. Good thing we didn't sign Hassan Reddick, though. You know, a big deal. We asking too much, whatever. Yeah, how's Huff working out for everybody? No pass rush, getting carved up like Swiss cheese with the size of holes against the run. Pathetic all around. They may have got a lot to fucking figure out for next week before Saints come in. I just might play before they play Saints. I am not impressed with this bend, don't break defense with Vic at all and what he's been doing. You know, that final drive there was going to a soft-ass shell zone, just way off, just let him march right down the field and score in no time at all. Jalen with a horrible decision at the end of the game. That throw, you just throw it away. Roll out, throw it away. No, he's got pressure, so you cannot do that there. But, yeah, the biggest takeaway is I miss fucking Hassan Reddick big time. And it's so disrespectful that we didn't fucking re-sign him because look at our pass rush now.
Agreed there on the Hassan Reddick stuff. On the Vic stuff, I mean, the last series has to fall on his shoulders for sure. I believe the bigger problem with this defense is personnel more than Vic. There are real problems with the lack of talent on defense. Once again, more so than anything Vic Fangio related. I'm not telling you Vic's always perfect. I think there's a lot of issues that happen with this defense when guys can run right through you, but they're running right through you because you don't have the talent. That's the number one problem on why teams can run the ball and Bijan can have all this excellence and these guys can carve you up and Green Bay Packers get some great opportunities to get, what's the word I'm looking for here? The explosive plays, and they can do it in the run game because you don't have anybody who can stop anybody. With how much they get shredded, the fact that Vic Fangio holds them to field goals as much as they do in a big picture view, I actually think Vic Fangio is doing way better than you're giving him credit for with what he's given as well. That last drive, though, he has to take blame for it. No doubt about it. That falls on him for sure. I mean, you can't let Kirk Cousins do that. You can't. All right, that's going to do it. We're shutting it down. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out with me. I greatly appreciate it. Love you guys to death. I'll see you all on the next one.